I'm starting with a little bit of a
And
skip
this tweet
here,
comes to us
namely because there was a little bit of an intro stuff. We don't
from
necessarily need to
Punk.
do that,
You know,
right?
Punk the God, the Street Fighter 6 player. Well, he's a Street Fighter player in general, fighting game player in general, predominantly known for Street Fighter, but he's tweeted earlier this morning that reads, I feel like Tekken has to be the last fighting game where being better than someone actually matters anymore. Every other fighting game is just about getting your opponent in a guessing situation and possibly winning off of it, no matter the skill difference.
Okay, let me start off with number one. This cap. Okay, the reason why this is particularly cap is because there's a lot of things surrounding this conversation, right? If you guys don't know, the CPT US East finals just happened, right? So during that whole debacle, I think his name is Paladin. I want to go with Paladin. We're gonna go with Paladin. If I need to correct, I will. But essentially, Punk got 3-0'd by Paladin. Now, if you don't know who Paladin is, he is a 16-year-old player. So those who would like to say the fact that, oh, this is not coming from a place of like salt or whatever, granted, you might feel that way, and you know what, it might be the case, but with the things surrounding what happened, this coming out the time that it did makes it seem a little bit suspicious in my mind, right? Starting there. Two, this tweet kind of makes it feel as though, okay, if I'm playing Street Fighter 6, Street Fighter 6 is considered every other fighting game, meaning you just have to force your opponent to guess, and if you guess, then you win. Now, the reason why I feel as though this is fundamentally a little bit wrong is because if let's look at almost every game out there, is you play the neutral, whatever the game looks like, whatever the neutral looks like in that game, you play the neutral. Once you're done playing the neutral, then you run your stupid offense in the corner. It doesn't matter if you're playing Blaze Blue. Doesn't matter playing Guilty. Don't matter playing Street Fighter. Street Fighter 5, same thing. Street Fighter 4, same thing. You know what I mean? Like, and you go down the list, right? Maybe the older like the pistol ones, maybe like Alpha 3, maybe not on that time. But even then, there was like you know, knockdown into 40% guess on command grab. You know what I mean? Like you have to guess. I don't see a world where it's just like I think SQ, well, he's going to talk about it a little bit later, but when SQ was talking about it, it's like, oh, when you start out with fighting games, you're like, damn, this is like super scrubby, whatever. And then you get a little bit intermediate, and then you're thinking, okay, you know what, there's a lot of intricacies there, whatever, woo-de-woo. Then when you get to the highest level, you're like, damn, this is scrubby again. This thought process is making people feel as though, like, at the highest level, it means you cannot cheese your opponent out. Well, provided, you know what I mean? Like, you can definitely throw some people's ways and whatever have you, but when it comes to actually dealing with a lot of the inner machinations of the game, you need to have that knowledge in order to get that far. If you don't have that, the barrier into the highest level is super high. And although people don't feel that way because they've been around the block, it is hard for a lot of folk to reach that level. You feel what I'm saying?
And I would say that for the most part, I don't personally feel like Tekken is a game that has a lot of neutral skips. The funny part about that is that a lot of things that people probably value and appreciate in Tekken, whether it be in Tekken 7 or older titles,
I don't think it's going to be a little bit of a hotter take here. The reason why there's less neutral skips, and I think this might be the case for 3D fighting games. The reason why there's a lot less neutral skipping is because if you do, you're right there. Yeah, like, yo, Gap is crazy, but your opponent's right there. You know what I mean? And neutral looks different in each game. Right? The thing about 2D fighting games is because for some sicko reason, the people who have the loudest voices in the FGC are the Street Fighter heads, and for some reason when it comes to the Street Fighter heads, they believe that their way of neutral is the only way to neutral.
Popular reasons being the fact that she's just very strong, and as with any fighting game, people are going to tend to dislike the characters who are strong because people always hate the top tiers, right? Unless you play that character, you tend to hate them.
Can we talk about that for a second? I feel like this is very interesting. Okay, not because he said it, but it's something that gets easily overlooked a lot of the time. The fact that let me even boot up the game real fast here. In the case that Ken and JP and DJ are not the top tiers in the game, someone has to go there. If Luke gets the banhammer and Jamie gets the buffs, Jamie is gonna be the one who become hated now. Okay, if JP gets the nerf, okay, and Blanca gets the buffs, people are gonna say Blanca is scrubby. You're always going to have a top tier. You're always going to have characters with really strong options. You're always gonna have characters that do annoying things to you. Now, with that being said, how do we get past that layer? Because people do not seem to understand how to get past that layer. Okay, notice how the people who win the most complain the least. The folks that are online yapping away talking about, oh, the game too broken, oh, perfect parry, oh, JP's juggle points, oh, Jinrai, oh, OD amnesia, oh, crouch strong. You know what I mean? Like, if you just go around, oh, I forgot a big one. Oh, SA2. You know, oh, Chun-Li, you know, you keep complaining about everything, bro. There's always gonna be something. If it ain't Sway, it's Fireball Drive Rush. If it ain't Fireball Drive Rush, plus unblock normal. If it's not plus unblock normal, insane setups. If it ain't setups, cheap SA. If it ain't cheap SA, cheap special move. If it ain't cheap special move, impossible to get in. If it ain't impossible to get in, busted dive kick. If it ain't busted dive kick, super armor. You see what I mean? Like, you can just keep going down the rabbit hole. Impossible to catch. You know what I mean? You can keep going down the rabbit hole. Neutral skips. You can keep going down the rabbit hole of complaints. At a certain point, you're gonna have to be like, brother, what will you do about it? Instead of complaining about it, do something about it. Oh, I can't do anything about it. How about, instead of whining about it, how about we boot up the game and figure it out? Yeah, so I always want to show respect. So this is on Lotus's most recent video. If you want to go ahead and watch it, I can also link drop it as well. You know, I always want to show respect. You know what I mean? Like he made the video. We're gonna react. We're gonna do it right. You know.
Necessarily the case in people how people truly feel. But it is what people say, right? People want more footsies. They want more neutral. They want less neutral skips and so on and so forth. And Tekken is one of those games that, until Tekken 8, doesn't really have a whole lot of that.
Can I just say, by the way, I know I'm pausing a lot, but y'all gonna have to hold it. Like, people say they want footsies. They lie. They lie. They do not want footsies. Footsies is a lie. Yeah. Whoever told them is a lie from hell. Whoever told them they want footsies, they don't want footsies. They want to win. Because the moment they start fighting somebody who doesn't have to apply the same level of footsies, they crumble. And at that, their level of footsies is not even good. They don't want footsies, they want Kusage. If you don't know what Kusage is, it's like really degenerate fighting.
Right now. But having said that, it does feel as though the skill gap has shrunk a little bit, and that there are more times now where a lower level player or a less skilled player can and does in fact win.
Stop. Okay, I want to go in on this point here. Okay, this is what I find very odd. Okay, because a lot of the time when we have this conversation in a bubble. What is that bubble? That bubble is the assumption that there's just the game and only the game, and there's no other factors involved. This is not right. Okay, when it comes to this conversation as a whole, there are more factors such as more resources, more content creators, right? These things like dust loops, FAT, other different resource sites to learn, all of these help with the process of closing in that skill gap, because for those who would like to learn, there are opportunities and resources, like my channel by the way, are there for such things, right? If we just consider it in a bubble, the fact that the skill gap is getting smaller, right, then obviously it's gonna seem that way. Okay, that is point number one. Point number two is the fact that these folk, the only skill gap that was truly there in the ages of old was not tech, but it was combos. 1 to 2 frame links. Maybe when I get in a conversation with Narakami a little bit later, maybe he might set me straight on this, but to my knowledge, the main difference skill gap was how well you were able to do those 1 to 2 frame gap combos. The tech is there, right? And once again, even when it comes to tech is easier to find now than it was in the past. And I know there are some some of my homies don't believe this, but I believe that if say Exer were to drop now, or any of those, or BBCF were to drop like fresh new game now, they would be fine. The community would be fine. They struggle a little bit at the beginning on combos over the eventually would be fine. There's nothing there. It's the skill gap is combos. If I'm being honest, the skill gap is combos, but I'll let them rock.
That is 100% by design. Like I do truly believe developers are by design making it easier.
And even then, I know I keep pausing, but even then, like the easier in quotation marks is the simple inputs. Why? Because execution becomes easier, aka combos become easier. See what I'm saying? Combos. It's combos. It stopped being at some point, stop being about your tech, being about the different strategies that you create to counter people, and more about when I get my hit, can I optimize? That's what it was. Now it's more focusing around, all right, what type of tech do you have? What type of how are you approaching the matchup? Because combos stop coming like as important, because they're easier now, right? So now it's more focused around what you're doing, how you're conducting yourself in neutral, how you're breaking, either busting out on defense, or how you're conducting defense, right? When you get into a situation like this, these are the things that start to become more and more important. But NA don't see it like that.
They're not completely erasing or eliminating like skill and practice and knowledge from the games, but they are trying to make it so that it's not as big of a requirement to win constantly as I feel like it may have been before.
At a lower level, right? I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying at a lower level. At a high level, you need your knowledge in check. You need strategies in check. Now it's more strategy based, right? Because everyone can do the combo. For like I can. I was about to say gap, but let's go with it. I can gap my opponent just by making sure that I can hit the 1 to 2 frame link. When I can hit the 1 to 2 frame link, then I get put in a better situation had I gone for the generic route. Now you're put in this messed up situation, gotta guess whatever woody woo, and then GG's. Shake my hand. Hold my hand, by the way. Shake my hand, right? I'm not gonna lie. Mashing and failing is a cope that well-known players use against less well-known players to justify why they lost. Because if Like you know, we were actually talking about it in the Discord like last night. If a well-known player does wake up super, you know, it's a bare. You know, bare is that kind of word of saying mashing, right? It's a bare. It's he knew what was going on. But if it's a lower skill player or sorry, not lower skill, if it's a non-known player, bro, he was mashing super, man. Like, oh, he was just mashing super, right? And maybe you want to attribute it to the fact that, oh, we don't really know this guy, so maybe you might actually be a masher or whatever, right? But there are some well-known players that are just legit mashers, and they will mash on the situation. And if they think that what they're doing is the correct thing to beat your current option and it works, then it was thought about. Just because you didn't see the method to the madness doesn't mean that it was in fact madness. You feel?
Too long because
Okay, I think he's packed up. So I want to hear you guys' opinion on the matter. Let me know in the comments down below, and let's talk about it. Thank you again for watching. Also, check out Lotus's video if you haven't. You want to check out the whole thing without me yapping in between about my own opinions. Anyways, appreciate you guys as always. Any questions?